Hi everyone, and welcome to my second Flosstube video. I can't believe I'm saying that. Thank you so much to everyone who watched my first Flosstube video. I really appreciated all the support and the lovely comments and advice that I received. I read all of your comments and I felt so very welcome to the Flosstube side of YouTube. And thank you so much to everyone who subscribed. There are, well, last time I checked, 656 of you, which, whew, I feel so welcome and a little bit nervous. I really hope to make really good videos for you guys. So I will start off with the tea for today. So here's the mug I went with. And in here is Twinings green tea. I wanted a green tea, however, this green tea is interesting because it has pomegranate and strawberry in it. So sometimes when you brew green tea for slightly too long, it gets a bit bitter. And I was hoping that maybe if I got one with fruit, I was able to avoid that problem. And actually, it has been really nice. So if you see me pick up my mug and drink something, now you know what it is. And I hope that you have a delicious warm beverage next to you right now. So we'll start with our first. This is a new start for me, which I have been loving. This is Modern Folk Embroidery, a Sampler Garden. And this, I'll show you guys my progress first actually. So here it is. This is everything that I've done this month. And I started in the middle and I worked my way up because I was very desperate to get to these beautiful little birds up here. When I saw this piece and I saw the little birds, there's more than 2 birds on here, there's several birds, I fell in love with it. I needed to do it. And the second I hit the birds, I was like, oh, I need to continue stitching this. I need to continue stitching this. And I could not put this down. But I needed to get some other stitching done. So what I decided with this piece was this was going to be my cross stitch on the go. And I took this while waiting for appointments, waiting for people to meet me in public. I took this along with me. And I actually have really enjoyed cross-stitching in public. I've never thought I would say that. I had people coming up to me and commenting, asking what I was doing, basically giving me the standard like, oh, I could never do that. And it was actually really nice to encourage people, because it's always good to encourage people to do something with their hands. I think basically making crafts or handiwork, it's really powerful. It shows your expression and your creativity and what you can give to the world. That's what crafters do. We give positive energy out. And then I had one little boy come up to me, and he was probably 11 or 12 years old, and he sat beside me and he said, oh, that, you know, can I ask you something, or can I tell you something? And he said, like, that's really beautiful. And I told him, like, hey, you know what? I'll give you a needle, I'll give you floss. Let's do just one. I'll show you how easy this is. You can do this at home. Like, you can do this for your mom. Like, you want a beautiful Mother's Day gift? Like, just a little tiny, just even a little cross-stitch bird. I'm sure she would love that kind of gift from her kid. So I showed just one easy cross, and that is such an encouragement for people. Like, if you can just show them one X cross-stitch, if you can just show them, like, one purl when you're knitting, like one crochet line, they get so motivated and they really do want to do it because they can see that it's not as hard as they made it out in their head to be. It's not as overwhelming. And they might even go out and buy some cross-stitch material and actually start for themselves. And that's really exciting. And I always like doing it with kids because I feel like someone's gotta show them how to do something with their hands, because they don't teach that in schools now anymore, do they? So that I loved it. And this has actually started my great problem of 2025. So when I first started into cross stitching, I actually bought hoops. So I will show you guys my hoops. So I bought 2 hoops. This one over here, this was just a 6-inch. I don't like this hoop at all. And then I got this one. I'm not sure who makes that hoop. And this one actually has been fine. In terms of how a hoop goes, I don't actually mind it that much. But the reason I switched into a full scroll frame was because when you stitch, actually I'll show you guys here, when you stitch on a scroll frame, you're able to see it side to side, maybe not top to bottom, but from side to side. And I use the sewing method. I don't know if you guys can see on one of those rows at least. I use the sewing method. So I go back, I make one set of one of my crosses, and then I stitch as far as I need to on the pattern, and then I go back and I cross over. Sometimes this is the not the most satisfying way of functioning because you're not able to see progress as quickly, but I find it very efficient, and for like more expensive flosses, you use slightly less floss. Your floss will go further. So I had this issue where I was getting to the ends of like here, which were my hoop. You can see the hoop marks here, and I wasn't able to go further, though I knew the pattern called for further. And so either I stopped, took off my hoop, moved it, which especially with this brown one over here, there's a wing nut on the end of that. And if you have any sort of hand or finger dexterity issues, taking that wing nut all the way to the end, taking the top of the hoop off, moving it, putting it down, wing nutting it back on, it gets tedious. And especially if you have dexterity issues, then it gets difficult too. You're not as motivated to cross stitch. So this is where I ran into problems because I decided, you know, let's just use a hoop because we're in public. I cannot take my entire frame, let alone my cross stitch stand in public. That would be impressive. And anyone does that, I have a lot of respect for you. So that's where you'll see all this parking going on here. So I've parked this one down here, over here, and I don't like looking at my cross stitch piece, just seeing this mess. Not even to mention, there was at least one instance where I learned not to do this, where I had pulled one of my threads and left it on the back. And because I was using a hoop, I was doing it this way. And so the thread was dangling down here. I'm cross stitching, not even that far from it. And I managed to like snag through it. I don't know how, through the thread, through the floss, because you know how there's two threads? I snagged through that and stitched with it. And then when I finally, you know, felt very accomplished, flipped it over, realized that I had done a number. And I will not lie, somewhere in here, I will not show you my shame because it is only for me to see. But there's at least one instance where I left that and had to effectively use that extra little dangly bit that hadn't been caught and like tack it down with other cross stitches, like other stitches around it. It was a mess. We don't talk about it. We will never do that again. So, but I love this piece, guys. Like, it's so accessible in my opinion. You're stitching. I really like pieces when they have motifs like this where they're close to each other and I'm not doing a ton of counting. Let's say I'm not doing 27 like spaces up. Because I find, maybe it's just me, I'm more prone to counting errors that way compared to something like 3 or 4, or in this case, in a lot of places it's 2. So I would not be surprised if I get that thing finished by the summer because I have loved it. Oh, sorry, going back to my dilemma, I just realized I was still holding these. So I've realized hoops maybe are not the solution for me. This brown hoop, I will keep him. This one, maybe I'll keep it if I need to teach a child. So then I realized I have an issue. About 2 weeks ago, I checked in. So my frames are from Omonic factory in Estonia, and they are shutting down their entire division of cross-stitch supplies. So I have this one over here. You can see this is the frame. I showed you guys this in my last video. This is my long frame. Sorry, my like long bar on the top there. I have a second set of bars. These ones. I don't know if you can even see that in the full frame. These were the longest ones that they carried at the time. They might make them longer now, or about a year ago, I'm not sure. Several years ago, this was the longest they made. This is double the stitchable width of my other piece. And so now I'm left with this problem where I'm not going to be able to purchase any more supplies from them, but I want something that's halfway between my short bars and my long bars. And so if anybody has any ideas what maybe I should do on this, I don't know if I should buy an entire new frame, like scroll frame system, or if there's something else. I've been intrigued by Q-snaps. I have never used them because I mostly stitch in frame, on a stand, But then I was seeing that there's a Q-snap adapter for the Lowry stand, which I use. And so I've been intrigued by that. So if anyone uses a Q-snap, I would love some advice. Are they worth the money? Should I just get the largest one? Should I get the smallest one? Get a little bit an in-between one? Does it squash your stitches much? I would love to hear anything that you guys have to say on this. I'm a bit lost in the Q-snap world. I've been such a scroll frame girl for the longest time. So then we'll get to my second piece, and this is the Dwarven Axe by Modern Folk Embroidery. And with this one, this is going to be for my husband, and I let him, last video, you saw the fabric that he had pulled and the flosses that he had chosen from. So like there was a warm and a cool toned fabric and like several different, it was blue and green floss. And I am pleased to say, because I was rooting for this, guys, that he went with, ta-da, the warm tone fabric with this absolutely beautiful green DMC. You see that? It's so nice. So I guess I'll talk about stitching on this piece. The start on this piece, I had a little bit of difficulty on. I was so in love with my last piece that like going on to this piece was a little bit difficult in my mind. So because I used a hoop for this as well, I didn't want to switch off my other piece you'll see in a minute. I decided to use the blue hoop for this, which, I mean, that was already a mistake on my part. I probably should have used the brown hoop. But I started in the middle, and when you start in the middle on this piece, you start in these runes down here. And I have never actually enjoyed stitching letters first in a piece. I really love this motif up here. This axe motif with the heart through it. I love that. And I was really hoping to do this first, do the side frame, and then get down here where the bottom of the sword is, and then do the runes last. But I was unable to do that because of the way this was. I mean, this is a pretty big piece of fabric, to be honest. So as you can see here, I sort of struggled through the runes, didn't completely finish them, desperately counted as quick as possible to get up to the top of the axe there. And that's where I stitched it. Once I got to the heart, I actually enjoyed this. Once I got to the heart, it was fine because there is this, here I can show you, this sort of line, line that keeps going and going through the entire part, the entire top of it here. And that I was enjoying because it's 3, 3, 3, 3. That felt very meditative to do. And so I really enjoyed that. So now I'm actually enjoying this piece. I'm trying to branch out this way just to get the shape of the axe over here, and then I'm able to fill it in. And if anyone's actually starting to stitch this, I would recommend that you go up, 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 hit the heart immediately, and then start doing the bottom of the axe here instead of the line here. Now, if you're prone to counting errors like me, then that might be the advice you need, because I'm prone to counting errors if it's over 20. If it's over 20 in a row in one direction, I'm prone to counting errors. So I usually like to go to something where there's some sort of shape and go from there. Also, last video, I referenced my prepping for the needlepocalypse, as I found way too much bow and needles in my stash, but there's more. Because I went digging through my stash again, and I found I have piles of Peacemaker needles as well. So Vonna from the Twisted Stitchers used these, and I used to, when I was early in my cross-stitching days, I watched a lot of the Twisted Stitcher, and she said these were her favorite needles, and I was a Bowen girl, still am, but I decided that I needed to as well stitch to Peacemaker needles. And I find these, if you guys are debating between these two needle types, these are thicker in width than the Bowen. And depending on what the girth, we'll say, of the fabric you're using, how close together the threads are, that actually might affect things, because I started to feel like I was going really quick with a Bowen, and when I switched to a Peacemaker, just out of curiosity, I was pushing a lot more, and I didn't like that as much. It didn't feel as fluid. I'm not saying these are not great needles. They're good needles, but they are solidly second place. But I have like 5 packs of these. I'm not gonna use 5 packs. So I guess if the Needlepocalypse hits, everyone who is a Peacemaker kind of girl knows where to hit me up. I have tons of it. I have tons of 24, 25, and 20, or what is it, 24, 26, and 28 in my stash. I've got you covered, apparently. So, last piece I will show is going to be Modern Folk Embroidery. The Salentine from last year. Yes, I know I'm a year late, but it's a beautiful piece, so I will show it anyway. Or sorry, continue to work on it. And I know there's a new Sal this year, guys. So this is the progress I have. I decided to give him a head. Last video, he didn't have a head. He just had 3 legs and some torso. And this video, this month, I decided that he does deserve a head. He does deserve a head in his back leg and his tail. So I stitched that. I finished that up. And I actually have, once I finished that, there was like something slightly throwing me off with this piece when I was looking at it, that I kept going back to my other ones and I was avoiding stitching this. It was definitely the deer, guys. It was definitely the headless deer. And now that I have fixed my headless deer problems, I am more than happy to stitch on it. And I think I mentioned this last video that my goal this month is to get this finished. And considering today is February, what is it? The second week of February? Yeah, I don't have that much time left. It's actually a short month this year, so I am hoping to get a little more done on him. I'm hoping to finish him, if I don't finish him, at least the top and the bottom motif. You can see that here. I'm at least hoping to get this and this done. Whether letters get finished is a different story or not. But I did spend a lot of time this month. I don't know if you guys had that really hard freeze, that polar vortex that went through. I'm in Ontario, and the polar vortex was harsh. It was snowing every single day, and then there was a hard freeze. And maybe there's just with our roof, I don't know. There were massive icicles on the side of it, and they were dripping onto the stairs. When you leave the house, we've got like 4 concrete steps to get up to the front door, and there was like ice that thick. One day I sat and I poured 9 kettles worth of boiling water because we bought this salt to try to melt it. But it's like the green balls of salt. They're supposed to be like pet safe, better for the waterways, I guess. They weren't making a dent in it. And so I would salt it, leave it, come back, realize it was like barely melting it. And so I decided to go old school way and just get kettles and kettles and kettles of boiling water. But I would go pour it, come back. It took probably, I'm guessing, like 10 to 11 liters to melt a single, no, I hope it didn't. Some of the water was going down off the steps and like melting some of the subsequent ones. But I felt I was shoveling the driveway every single day. Every single day I was out there. And I don't love shoveling snow. It's not my favorite thing to do in the world, but you knew that if you didn't shovel this like light fluffy snow now, by the time it was tomorrow it could hard freeze, and then you really can't move that snow. You cannot get to the concrete below it. It's not like we park our car in the driveway, and it's not amazing for the car to have like to be sitting in a snowbank like this, so the wheels are much higher than the other one. I don't think it's like great for the axle of the car. So I don't know if any of you had that crazy polar vortex, but we sure felt it here in Ontario. Mountains of snow, just mountains. And I live rurally, so the blowing snow is always really crazy. You couldn't see in some places out the window. It was so high, but it was like snowing calf amounts of snow, but because it was just blowing onto the house as well. So I didn't have that much time to stitch this month as much as maybe I would have liked. I'm hoping next month it will start melting, and then in terms of outside work, there's not as much because you are, there's nothing to shovel and there's nothing to weed. So you're basically sitting inside as it rains the whole time, which is like maybe not my favorite weather when it's just constantly pouring. but it's good for your well if it rains, so I'm holding on to that. And then I guess I will, what else do I have to show you guys? Oh, I guess I could talk about my thrift store find of the year, potentially. So I have a stand mixer in my kitchen, and I love it, but it's a very high capacity mixer, which a lot of people are very desperate for a high capacity mixer. However, when you just want to beat 2 eggs with a bit of sugar, it becomes, let's just say, a little bit tedious to go pulling the handle down, taking off the bowl, because there's a specialized bowl that goes on it, and then cleaning the very, very large bowl. So I, just out of desperation, went into my local thrift store and I found a KitchenAid hand mixer, which I had been eyeing in a Walmart 2 or 3 weeks before that. I just figured, I can probably just push it with a hand beater for a while longer yet. And I was shocked, just shocked to see a little red, pretty much brand new hand mixer sitting there on the shelf like it was just for me. And you know, I grabbed that thing and I ran to the cash and I bought it. And it has been wonderful, just wonderful having that little hand mixer. In terms of when you're making like crepes or pancakes, or if I'm creaming like a cup of sugar into a cup of butter, it has been life-saving because my mixer depth, it's probably, it might be the highest capacity that KitchenAid makes. It doesn't beat as well if it's all the way to the bottom. Sure, if you're doing like 4 dozen cookies at a time, it's great. It's fantastic. It blends everything beautifully, but when you're doing such a small amount, it's like right at the bottom of your little bowl, and it was not doing the work as well as I needed it to. So that's been so great. So that was probably my thrift find of the year. If I find anything that tops that, I will let you guys know, because I was super excited. My kitchen is super excited. Now I can just put the 2 little beater blades in the dishwasher instead of putting the massive big metal bowl and the beater blades that are really big. Once you get into the really high capacity KitchenAids, they're like, I don't know, that big. And they're stainless steel, so they are a bit of a beast, and they're actually pretty heavy as well. So I think that's everything for my video. If you liked my video, please leave a comment, leave a like, it means a lot, maybe even subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!